Campbell Newman has found a job for a former Liberal MP and for the former Premier's husband in a shake-up of the senior public service. The new Premier has put his stamp on the bureaucracy with 7 changes so far. He'll announce his cabinet later this week. On the other side of the House, Anastasia Palaszczuk will lead the remnants of the Labor Party in Parliament.
New Premier, new broom. Campbell Newman has announced another 6 new department heads after already replacing the Director-General of his own department. Long-serving Treasury boss Gerard Bradley will make way for QUT Deputy Chancellor Helen Gluer.
I'm really delighted to announce the first woman to be the Under-Treasurer of the state of Queensland.
The changes also include former Liberal MP Michael Caltabiano as the head of the Transport Department. Mr Newman says it's not about jobs for LNP mates.
I accept that criticism could be there, but I'm saying to you and to all Queenslanders, these are people who'll do a fantastic job.
He says Labor's senior public servants weren't as qualified.
They appointed people who didn't have a clue what they were doing. That's as simple as that.
But the former Premier's husband, Greg Withers, can stay in the public service if he wants to.
I'm telling you that he has got a job if he wants one.
However, that job would be to dismantle the carbon reduction programs he was in charge of. The massive new LNP party room will meet tomorrow and the Newman cabinet will be announced on Friday. Former opposition leader Lawrence Springborg is relaxed about getting a recall to the front bench.
Look, if the Premier chooses to have that discussion, then that's fine, but if he chooses not to, that's fine too.
He says the LNP's overwhelming victory vindicates his efforts to merge the old Liberal and National parties in Queensland.
Certainly the doomsayers have been proven wrong. It's something now that should be looked at nationally and also in other states.
While the LNP has to manage 77 new MPs, the ALP has to rebuild from only 8. The Labor president says that requires radical change. He wants MPs to scrap their internal factional allegiances. Which won't be easy.
The time for factions and factionalism is over. That was a luxury we could afford when there was a large number of MPs in the state parliament, and I say this as a former convener of the left faction. We cannot afford that.
He says he's throwing down a challenge to his colleagues.
I mean, after all, if there are only 7 people in the parliament, what are we going to have, a faction of 1?
The former Transport Minister Anastasia Palaszczuk is set to lead that tiny team. She agrees with the party president.
I think the time for factions is no more. We need to be united, we need to move forward, and we need to put people's interests first and foremost.
The second-generation MP expects to be endorsed tomorrow by the minuscule caucus to be opposition leader after the biggest defeat in Labor history.
It's going to be like climbing Mount Everest, but I'm sure that we can do it.
One step at a time. Chris O'Brien, ABC News.